Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
So much of our journey is about facing the reality of where we are, taking and finding purpose through our pain, and most importantly, rising and climbing to the level that we know we're capable of being. For many of us, of course, especially if you're listening to this show, you've probably been through a lot of shit. Probably looked at your life and wondered, why me? You've probably even thought to yourself, I cannot catch a break. But what happens when you make a decision to do something different? When you decide that you're no longer going to be held back, and when you choose to become, well, the hero of your own story. And no one's done that better than my friend, today's guest, Ben Barbic. Ben, my friend, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it, man. Happy to be here.
I'm very excited to have you. You know, I have your new book here, Rise and Climb. If you're watching on YouTube video, Rise and Climb, beautiful cover. It's actually the street you grew up on, and the subtitle, Finding Purpose Through Pain. Not to mention you have a bajillion amazing acknowledgments, I should say, on the back of the book. And I think that's really great. So many people supporting it. And as I read through the book, I thought to myself, man, there's some amazing parallels here between my story and Ben's in so many ways. And so before we jump in and we get into all of this, why should anyone listen to our conversation?
Well, I think, man, it comes down to, when we've gone through some trauma and when we've gone through some things, and we hit that moment where we make a decision on what the next move is, and we make that move, and then we are a decade plus removed from that moment of change. There is a lot in that of experiences, of ups and downs, and of ultimately, finding a life of purpose. And I would even say a life of happiness. When the cloud lifts and you have those moments that you weren't familiar with before, and you can share how you got to those and how those felt. I think that's really what we're going to be diving into today. And, the road ain't easy. It's bumpy, but we're getting there, and that's the perpetual movement forward of it.
I think so many people, they hear this and they go, yeah, but you don't know my story, Ben. And you don't know what it's been like for me. And I'm stuck and I'm lost and nobody has my back. And I'm in debt and the business isn't working. The relationship isn't working. The kids don't like me. I tried all the things people say to try and I'm still like, there's no momentum. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a true story for a lot of people. I mean, at 26 years old, that was certainly me. I know for you at 28, that was a part of your journey. And we're going to talk about kind of that transformation, but what would you say, just because I want to lead off with this, if somebody's in that position right now and life is just kicking their ass, what would you say to them?
Well, first of all, I think you got to decide that I've had enough, right? I think sometimes when life's kicking our ass a lot, we need to make a commitment to ourselves to say, look, I'm not going to take this anymore, and almost flip it to a place of, I personally deserve more than this. I personally deserve to have some joy and almost a little bit of selfishness. Like if life's knocking you down in every direction, take a pause and say, what can I implement to get a little bit of forward progress with the thought process of, enough's enough. I'm not going to take this anymore. And so I think some of us need real rock bottom moments, right? Some of us need to get really hit with it, like me and you did. And sometimes I think that people don't necessarily need to go that heavy with it to make that change. I think it's like, okay, I'm drifting this direction. but I also know that I could correct this ship. I could put this back on track. So to me, it's the subtleties of even one thing that you implement in your life. And we could dig into any of those too. But I really believe that first decision is the decision that can snowball into a whole different category with it.
You know, a lot of that is built into our experiences growing up, you know, and I look at a lot of my background and the people I spent time with and the home that I grew up in. And I mean, just realistically, dude, so many of us are just set up for failure. And that's true. And there's this moment where you have to realize, and this was hard for me, and sometimes it's still hard for me, right? Because you know, you look at your life and what you're in front of and what's next. And I just always had, as a kid, I always thought to myself, it is just so overwhelming. I don't know where to begin. Right. And then eventually you figure out it's the idea of one day at a time is so unbelievably real. And that's hard because if you grow up and you're in this chaotic household as a kid, you don't even know where to begin because you're so connected to chaos.
Mm-hmm.
I know you had a ton of early chaos. We don't necessarily need to go in the details, but paint me a picture. What was childhood like for Ben? What was it like growing up?
So I think it's important to kind of look at the trajectory a little bit. You know, the first few years of my life, my parents owned a motorcycle dealership and my dad was a professional motorcycle racer. So I had this real euphoric first few years of my life. And then, you know, just about 6 years old, we lost the stores to an embezzlement. Our house burnt down and we basically turned away from everything. So it went from I felt joy and then I felt it all stripped to where now we're in a trailer with no power, you know, nowhere to put our waste, no motorcycles, no joy, and around burnt trees in a donated trailer. And so, you know, life gave me that memory, but it also gave me something where, you know, after a few years, we were able to build back the home after a few really grinding years. And then when it got destroyed again in an earthquake. And so my early childhood, things were attacking me out of nowhere that I had no control over. And so it was these two. And after that second one, where all of a sudden I was just sitting there and I didn't know what it was, but I thought I was dying. I just thought I was dying. And that was the first little drip of anxiety came in, right? Where it's just like, okay, things are attacking at any moment. And then I think 6 months later, my appendix burst. I got really sick. So then my body failed me, you know? And so through that, all of a sudden, I just didn't trust anything. I didn't realize what was going on at the time, but what was framing my life was things out of nowhere happening that I can't control. And I was in no position as a child to rise up against them. I had no tools. I had no abilities to do anything like that. So the ultimate mentality that was sitting dormant in me, and this goes back to purpose through pain, is ultimately gaining an ability to take pain in life and turn that into purpose and use the fuel and the uncomfortableness of when you're going through things to your benefit and really, you know, many years later, not only take control of your life, but see, as weird as it sounds, blessing of, like, look, man, I'll tell you, I don't know how you feel about this, but like the rock bottom moment, I wouldn't change later when I was 28 because that gave me the fuel to change. I might not have done it if I didn't have that, right? And so it really comes back to being, you know, wounded in an early childhood situation and then perpetually having anxiety lurking and this evil darkness lurking that I didn't even really know was actually that different from other people, you know? And you know, when I started having real panic attack, I didn't know that was different. I felt different, you know, I felt like I wasn't connected and I was going through life differently, but I didn't necessarily know that this was something that, you know, a lot of the kids weren't going through and it's not always, you know, darkness and gloom. And so I think those were kind of the seeds that started a lot of frustrations and a lot of bad moods because I didn't deal with that at all. I didn't deal with any of the things that kind of got me to feel like such an outsider and feel like I wasn't connected in. And so they sat dormant and revealed themselves in really negative behaviors.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been there, and I think that especially when you're young, you're not equipped in any capacity to handle, especially those kind of situations, right? I mean, you talk about a complete 180 on your human experience to go from, I don't put words in your mouth, but from having quote unquote everything in this amazing life and all of this around you to it all being stripped away. And, you're growing up in a time where mental health is not a conversation, right?
That's right.
You grow up and anybody who talks about a therapist, you're like, they're a crazy person, right? Like, I mean, I started going to therapy when I was 7 years old because of abuse that I went through.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, obviously I never talked to anyone about that. I never shared that outside of that space. And then, you become a teenager. And for me, it was, well, how do I navigate the chaos of this experience? And it was drugs and it was alcohol at a very young age. I mean, I got high for the first time when I was 12.
Yeah.
And it was drugs, it was alcohol, it was music. Then it turned into women, and then it turned to whatever the next vice was to kind of get me through. And so much of it was because I just didn't know how to control the emotions.
That's right.
Right. It's funny because when I look back, people would always be like, you're a robot. Like, just like people literally just like, you're a robot. I mean, because, I was in this freeze state generally, right? Either I was fighting or I was freezing. Like that's kind of where I lived.
That's right.
And then you kind of learn to navigate these emotions and these experiences. And you look at something like panic attacks, and I figured this out on my own. And I'm not saying I'm right. You're the college degree holder here, not me, right? But I had this moment, and we'll talk about your credentials a little bit too. But I had this moment where I was 29. And I was driving to Portland, Oregon, and I was in Salt Lake City. And I was just uprooting my whole life to go work with this therapist. And it was this thing that at the time I was having 5 panic attacks a day. Dude, it was brutal. And people who don't have panic attacks, they just don't. If you've never had one, it's the world caves in on you. You go into tunnel vision. You're completely shut down. Your brain is flooded with all of the worst chemicals. You can't function. You can't think. You can't eat. Nothing you do in your life seems to be working in that moment. And that could be 48 seconds or 4 days. And that's what's so crazy about it. And I realized as I was laying in this dirt cheap hotel room in Salt Lake because I had no money. I was broke. The business had failed. My car got repoed. Brent, I had nothing.
Yeah.
And I was fucking having 5 panic attacks a day. And I'm laying in bed in this hotel room and like a red roof in the middle of nowhere. And I realized if I stop fighting these emotions and just let them happen, maybe this will go away. And since that moment, this is a true story, that was 11 years ago. Since that moment, I've maybe had 4 panic attacks.
Yeah. Well,
because I realize so much of it's letting go. But here's the hard part. You can't let go of what you don't acknowledge.
That's right.
And for me, I know that you had a mirror moment. I had a mirror moment. It was this thing at 26, looking at my life and going, what the fuck? And so I would love for yours is crazier than mine subjectively. But I'd love for you to get into that and talk about, you mentioned that that's something you wouldn't trade. You wouldn't give that up. It was so pivotal for you. What was that? Walk us through that experience.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I touched, connected to what you're saying there is kind of stacking up the numbing, right? So you add in this thing. Well, now you're drinking. Now you're smoking weed. Now you're not exercising. Now you're eating shit food. Now you're making bad decisions. When you go out, you're angry. You're putting yourself in vulnerable places. For me, it was getting in some fights and some things that started to, really complicate my life and not caring, right? And so the further I went, the more I wasn't caring. And then when I got arrested on my 28th birthday, and it felt like this is now this is the shit I do. Like it became like, this is now me. It started to become my identity, right? It was like, this is not new. This is not a new process. This is now something to where I'm in this and I'm watching all the people go around me, and life continues, and I'm stuck in perpetuity in this thing. And so for me, when I got out that next morning and my friend dropped me off at home, my son was 6 at the time, and my girlfriend, they made a teddy bear for me because it was Father's Day coming up, or no, for my birthday. Excuse me, it was for my birthday. And I got in there by myself, and I touched the little button on the teddy bear, and it said, "We love you, Daddy," in their voice. And so for me, that was enough, because it was more than me. It was for more than me. I looked at the example I was setting for my son. I looked at where I was at versus what I thought I should be at, right? And where I thought I should be. And I knew that I had a long road ahead. I mean, I looked at it like, look, this is the moment of decision. Either this becomes, I'm a lifer, and this is what I'm going to be, and I'm just going to keep going this way, and I'm not going to listen to the moral compass inside that tells me this isn't right, and just kind of this is now me. This is what I'm going to do. This is how my life's going to go. But something inside me said, this is not me. This is not my identity. This is me at my lowest moment. This is me when I've gotten so far off my path that I don't recognize myself. If it was a mirror, it would have been that. And so that was my moment where it became very clear that I had to start going after what I believed that I was in my core. And I think that little bit of belief in, who I really was versus who I was at that moment is what, gave me the strength to know that, no, I could do this. I could pull this back around, and I could write the course on my life. And so in that moment, I decided to make the change. Now, obviously, first of all, you got to pay the consequences for your actions. So you're gonna deal with that, which is kind of like in a lot of ways, to me, I treat that as like a reset of like, you pay your dues and then you go forward. And so that was my moment. And it kind of required like every single aspect of life to be evaluated. And obviously, at first, you got to take things out. You're taking things out. You're taking drugs out. You're taking scenes out. You're taking decisions out, or unhealthy foods or whatever. And for me, man, one of the biggest moments was just when I clicked that button to take a class again in college, at the community college, right? Like there's just something about that forward positive motion of like that very subtle little thing that kind of, in a way, freed something where like I almost became addicted to that from that moment. Like, wow, that felt good. This other thing don't feel good. This other thing I thought felt good, but it doesn't. Well, that felt really good, and then you take a test and you care. First time, like really caring about a test. Okay, that was all right. I could probably continue with that, And so, what you're saying about being open to it, I walked a similar path with this. I went into therapy for years, focused on, I would say almost a soldier of peace, peaceful soldier. I like to think of this time in my life as like, I became like a peaceful soldier. Like I was on a mission to create peace in my life. And so that was with therapy. That was with getting into meditation, right? And stillness, and, going from a place where I'd have night terrors, kicking walls, and my foot would be all bloody, to like, I actually started having happy dreams, which I didn't even think was a real thing, man. Like when I had my first happy dream, I was like, damn, like this is now going beyond like force feeding it and going, like that. Now I'm actually in my subconscious feeling good about things, and it's not being attacked in my dreams and I have to fight off people all the time, And so these were kind of just some of the seeds that began. And for me, also, like, music has always been a vital piece, and so I always got lost in music. Music was always my escape, something I always worked on. But it was in that moment that I decided to like, no, I'm going to full throttle this thing. Like I'm going to this is my peace too. This is the place I can go to have peace, man. Inside that music, create inside that music. That world inside the music is mine to explore, mine to cultivate and craft whatever I want to craft, you know? And so the songs went from aggressive and angry to more of what I was feeling about progress and pushing and like, and you know, what my life was then. So the whole narrative changed in music. It changed in kind of lifestyle and who I'm hanging out with. And I kept hacking at it from that moment.
Let's I want to pause you real quick, because there was something you said that I just want to rewind into before we keep going. There's that moment, right, where you have to make this decision. And I had this similar experience as well, where it was kind of me looking at my life, and it was either just kill myself or solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just didn't see another solution. Like, it didn't feel like there was an alternative. It was same as you. It's like, are you going to be a lifer?
Yeah.
Or are you going to come out and do this?
Right.
Which in that world's real. I mean,
Yeah.
I got a family member. He's approaching 40 years.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I got another family member. She's on like 25. I got another family member. They're on like 10. You know, that's real. Some of my best friends are in prison for life because of stuff that they did when they were 19, you know, and I was on that path too. Luckily, I, for whatever reason, trusted my gut in a couple of really, really lucky instances, which, you know, looking back, you know, 15 years, 30 years, you know, or 25 years, I should say, I'm like, wow, it's crazy. I didn't do that thing or go to that place.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, it's really interesting. And I don't know if I've ever shared this on the show. The first time I visited my uncle in prison, I was 7. And, you know, even as a 7-year-old, you walk into prison, they pat you down. You walk through the wands, they pat you down, turn your pockets out, take your belt off. Now, dude, at fucking 7 years old, I will never forget this. I was like, I am never coming in here.
Right.
And I made a decision at that age. I was like, I will die before I walk into prison. I stand by that to this day. I don't do anything illegal.
Yeah.
I live my life, you know, as straight and narrow as anybody possibly can.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
bro, if they were ever like, you're facing 10 years, I'm like, nope, I'm not. That is never going to happen. I know that's a crazy thing to say, but like, it's true. I mean, and so, you know, you're sitting and you're facing this really pivotal moment of truth, man, where it's like, fuck, you could become that guy. Here's Ben. He is now a statistic.
Yep.
His kid's not going to see him.
Yep.
His woman's not going to see him.
Yep.
He is in this. And you know, the sentencing in America is so ridiculous, dude. Like, you know, maybe you get 5 years if you're lucky, whatever it is that you did. We don't need to get into that. But, you know, I'm curious in that moment, because you're sitting here, so many people have sat here and they have this teddy bear moment, and maybe it's not that because it's different for everybody.
Sure.
And they're like, today's the day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm changing. I'm becoming this different person. And then they're faced with the crisis of self, because now it's like, well, you said you're going to be you. You said you're going to be this other thing, but don't forget, these are all the things that you are too.
Yeah. You're carrying
how did you navigate that? Right.
Yeah.
What was that experience like for you in that space of time, especially around the beginning?
Yeah. Well, I think we carry those things. I mean, there's residual on some of that stuff that we carry for a long time. Right. So you're talking about the identity of the other things and things like, I think for me, we just have to walk with it and embrace it and know that we're not alone in that journey. Like, I think one of the things that took me a little while is like, you know, oh no, I'm not that thing. I'm this thing. And being truthful about what that is, right? So be truthful about what we carry, right? The things we're carrying on this thing. Like, just, okay, that's what I carry from past decisions, whatever you have on that. But I'm not going to let that define me, you know? And so it's the same general mentality, man, of like, no, I'm going to carry that weight forever. Like, I'm going to just constantly be in that and not let myself do this or not do this, you know, or not write a book about it because I'm going to carry it so long. I mean, dude, when writing the book, just to say this real quick and then we'll go back, like, I still carried some of that stuff. So when you put it on, I'm sure you felt the same. When you put it on paper to everybody, like, here's my story, you know, like, there's some residuals of embracing it on the levels of exposure, you know? And so the wounds are thick, the wounds are heavy when your first change is happening. But I think we can call upon so many of us that have gone through whatever it is, man, and made the change to be like, we have something to offer within it, like some of the most important, inspiring stories are those moments that, people make the changes. And I'll say that it was not easy to carry what we carry and think of yourself as different. It's not easy, but I think it also can be more rewarding, because there's another thing where you can kind of embrace your difference and just say, look, I'm going to embrace my differences at the same time. I'm going to walk my path and be confident in what it is. I'm not trying to, say, poor me or any of that things, but I'm going to walk my path with these things I've been through and the things that it gave me, which is what I'm most passionate about, man, is like, it gave me some stuff, man. It made me, like I would say a lot of the people that I tend to gravitate towards have some war wounds in their past of some kind without us even knowing it when you meet, right? It's like, there's just this certain connection. I could say that for a lot of people in my life. And you can wear things with a certain badge of pride, if you've endured and you've gotten through. And you now have like I wouldn't say a superpower of like, things aren't as difficult if you've been through difficult, like if you've totally gone through them, then it's not as hard to go on a podcast or speak or make music and put it out. Like, no, this is great stuff, man, because this other stuff was hard. That was really hard.
Let me ask you, you said something that just made me, sorry, I don't normally interrupt people, but you said something and I want to touch this because I'm putting on one of the biggest events that I've done maybe ever in my whole life. And I'm talking to my best friend yesterday and I was like, dude, this is crazy. I have done millions of dollars online. We've coached thousands of people through my programs, millions of downloads on this podcast, blah, blah, blah. I've been on billboards in Times Square. I've written best-selling books, blah. And I go, dude, I'm having fucking imposter syndrome right now.
Yeah,
like,
man.
It was the craziest thing. And here's what's crazy, Ben, I haven't touched that in 10 years. And I was like, whoa. And you know what that makes me think about is that means that you're stretching yourself.
That's it, man.
Because you're going to this place you haven't been in a very long time. This is easily the biggest event I've ever.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I thought to myself, that's the same way
You need to clean your gutters before they become a bigger, more costly issue. So let the pros at Leaf Filter handle that for you. You'll get a free gutter inspection and a no-obligation estimate, plus a lifetime warranty and no-clog guarantee. And during Leaf Filter's extended Labor Day sale, you can get up to $500 off with $0 down at leaffilter.com/gold. That's LEAF filter.com/gold. Restrictions apply. See representative for warranty and promotion details.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
Felt, again, maybe a story I haven't really shared on the show before, but a couple of days before I moved to Portland, Oregon, I got my 3 best guy friends. Like, these dudes I'd known for a decade. I lived with them since I was a teenager. They were the closest people in the world to me. And I was like, hey guys, I got to go on this crazy adventure that I'm about to go on. just feeling deep imposter syndrome about it. Cause it was like, dude, at that point in my life, you have to think I was the biggest asshole in the world.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy, dude. I was torching everything I touched.
Yeah.
And that was relationships, that was friendships, that was career, just I was the king of self-sabotage because I didn't know any different. Right. And then I started walking down this path of what now I've built with Think Unbroken, writing the books, podcast, blah, blah. But in the beginning, man, I'll never forget the first time I wrote a post and it went viral for what 11 years ago viral would be, right? A couple thousand people, a couple 10,000 people see it, whatever. And I was like, oh my God, I feel sick right now, like an imposter for doing this. And in that moment, I did the same thing I'm doing now, which is the same thing I heard you do. Is like, so what? Do it anyway.
That's it.
And people get trapped in that because that's the real identity shift, Ben. It's the doing it anyway.
That's it.
And for me, I've learned it because it's become such a discipline where I go, whatever, fuck it, let's just go.
That's it.
But most people get stuck there. So what was it like for you really tapping into this shift? And then what would you give to people who are like, I feel like I'm an imposter. I'm trying to heal. I'm changing my family. I don't want to go to jail again. I want to be a good dad. I want to be a good mom, but I want to go to college and click that link. What would you tell them?
Well, first of all, I felt that in every category you just said. I felt that in the college classroom and still had a panic attack because it was residual from my childhood, right? I had a panic attack on a plane because my family was so perfect that it was imposter syndrome. And that was 12 years ago. And that was my last panic attack. And so I dealt with it as I rose. This shit's going to come up. The imposter syndrome. I'm the family man. I'm the father. I'm the leader of this family. Intimidated on the thing. Oh, I'm traveling around for music and going to Paris for a month and they're having me out there because they believe in me. Imposter syndrome. I'm not supposed to be here. So writing a book and getting a publishing deal. This ain't this dude putting it out. Like these things come up, but man, like you just said, these are when we know we're doing something right, and so I think it's fuck it, flip a switch. Like I literally have that mentality, fuck it, flip a switch. Like I take it that way. Like, nah, no option forward, even like, man, with podcasting, whatever it is, it's like, I'm doing it and I'm going to do another one. You know what I mean? It's not, I'm forward. You know what I mean? Like I'm going forward with music, with books, with whatever it is, with school. You fuck up at school and you get a bad grade, forward. I'm gonna graduate. If I gotta take the class again, I don't care. So to me, it is that I literally try and visualize that flip of the switch, just like it's on, it's game time, and just flip it. And that really works for me, man. Is just this is what I'm gonna do. And so no matter how I feel, I'm gonna do it. And I get a lot of peace in a weird way of saying, I'm going to continue it no matter what. Like, I release a single and it doesn't hit the way I want it to. Fuck it. I got another one coming up in a month, I like that mentality. It helps me, cause I like long haul things, I get a lot of satisfaction in that. So with your event, man, you killing it. You got your biggest event. It's like, and it's not going to be the last one. This is the next level up. The first one of next level, right? And so
I think people get so stuck in so when I started building all of this years ago, I'll never forget the first month of downloads. We did like 19 downloads, and I promise you, Ben, like 12 of those were me. Like, is this thing on, right? Effectively, and you get this too because you put a song out and you're like, I listened to that song 9 times. We got 10 downloads. Let's go, right? Exactly right. And then I look at now and I go, millions.
That's right.
Right. But I played the game. I made the decision to commit to the day to day. And I think that, and I was talking about this with a friend, and I realized years ago that the reality is that if you focus on the outcome, you are doomed. Because there's just no way, because it's overwhelming. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe this is different for you.
No.
But if I focus on the outcome and I'm like, this is what it has to look like, and this is the health and the relationship and the money and the event and the podcast, it becomes so overwhelming, I shut down. But if I go, what domino can I knock over today?
Yeah.
Just one big domino, just one big thing in front of me today. what happens? How do you get into focusing on this moment as opposed to, I got to try to graduate college and be a dad and run this business and do the music and write the book? Like, how do you get into the present moment and navigate the time element of all of this?
Right. I mean, to me, I crave the daily work, kind of like I love to garden because I love watching the tomatoes grow every day and waking up and seeing them grow. So to me, I love the process of every day, practicing the set, working on new music, writing every day, reading every day, putting in the fitness every day. That's what I love. I mean, cause like, we've both had days that feel dull and unhappy. And now that I don't ever want to go back. So like, I just love these processes so much. And it's a tightrope walk to stay on it, right? Like I'm always having to make decisions of like, no, I'm gonna hold on my line here because that might throw me off, and I really crave process. So I default to that, and just, what is it that I really enjoy? It's a day full of the things that I enjoy doing. Now the time thing could be as little as a couple minutes, like a meditation. You could do 45 minutes or you could do 2, and they both work. They both get it done. 100 push-ups works, like whatever it is, you could fit it in. It's just a matter of like, say, nah, I feel so much better with this thing that I just don't really want to go to sleep without that feeling of, accomplishing it. And there's days that you can't, and you just got to deal with it too. Let me be clear. You can't be obsessed past like, oh, I'm on a plane all day and I got to knock out all this stuff. Like, there's times when it doesn't quite work, but then also like on a plane, you can knock out a book. So like it becomes another fun.
So I did mine.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
Part of it.
Dude. And like, if I get it on 6-hour flight, I'm like, I could probably knock out reading this book right now. If I, 130, 150 pager, I think I could knock it out. So it's like, I love that stuff, man. And I want to go back to one thing you said, because I think it's important that we do both acknowledge this. Like, I remember the first time I looked on Spotify 10 years ago, I had 2 listeners, monthly listeners, 2. And I'm like, fuck, one of those might have been, whoever probably both of them are people I knew, or maybe it's 15 years, whatever it is. That moment was like, not, oh man, I don't have it. It was like, I gotta keep going on this thing. Like, I gotta crack the code on this thing. Like, I'm not going to stop. I want to change that. Why do I want to change it? I want people to experience the music. I want to put it out there. And I also want to figure out, why it's not connecting the way I want. And that's a big part of this whole thing too, is like, I don't really ever walk into anything thinking I have all the answers. I'm always looking for more information, like accumulation of information and changing my views on things. And like, whether that's sound engineering, mixing, or vocals, or vocal technique, or songwriting, or writing, I mean, dude, I'm sure you went through the same. Like, I wrote my book for 8 years. You know what I mean? Like, just grind, just flip it. Nah, they don't like it. All right, back to the drawing board. Get it tuned up. What's missing, And so these are the things that I think bring me the joy. The outcomes, I think, ultimately are not they're not the excitement, Like, I'm not expecting this, like, I like to think about it like, rise and climb. The climb continues. You climb one mountain, you're going down, you're going to climb the next one. Like, it's not like I reached the top and now I'm here. Oh, look at me, I'm at the top. No, I'm going down. Every time you climb a mountain, you got to go down, and then I'm going to go up the next one. And so I think that mentality keeps it focused correctly versus, look at me, I'm on the mountaintop, kind of thing.
Yeah. One of the things that I had to, and to be frank, I still struggle with, I probably always will. It'll be something that I'm always trying to navigate. That's the letting go, right? The letting go of the choices and the decisions that we made. I'm much better at it now. I don't beat myself up like I used to. But back in the day, man, oh my God, especially in the beginning, I always tell people the first 4 years of my healing journey were so difficult because it was just constantly me berating myself, right? About how I should have been better, how I could be a better man, how like I did this or that. And eventually, you learn to heal and let that go, and you identify where it comes from. You find the root cause, all of that. When I think about people who have like the most significant transformations, I think so much of it, like, truthfully sits in the way that they acknowledge their faults, their mistakes, how they let go, how they forgive themselves, and most importantly, how they just, like you said, they flip the switch and keep going. to go to jail and to have these moments of really not showing up for yourself and letting people down, that's real, and that's something that carries a lot of weight. How did you get to the place of letting go of that, of forgiving yourself, of what did it look like for Ben to get to the place where he could be okay with who Ben was and know that those mistakes don't identify who he is. They were just a part of his journey.
Well, I think it comes down to self-love, man. Like I think the more inward I went, the more that I realized, you got to kind of love the self first. And when you do that and really genuinely feel that change of like, I deserve this, or, I'm not running from this inner demon anymore, because I think that that's the part that really hit me is this sense of like evil energy that was around, like just running from your past or whatever your feelings are or whatever's in there, right? You're just a track meet running away and it's chasing and you're just like, I don't want to see it. And so it's like, I think forward momentum is great, but I also think that the reflection and the stillness is vital, because then you're not, it's not just running from something. Like you're using it for fuel, but then at the same time, you also can sit with yourself and be comfortable and well, I think honestly, it's like love the self, man. And think of, I'm not going to take credit for this, but like, think of talking to yourself at your young age, right? What would you kind of tell yourself, or what would you do to help that kid, is a great way to look at the young self. And so, because it's like, it's all going on inside and people don't know really what's cooking up. And if you keep it to yourself, it's like they don't really understand it. And so I think stepping back from that perspective instead of dismissing stuff is like, nah, that's not a really big deal. That's all right. Just going through it. Who cares? It's just hammer. It's like, no, I would say the ebbs and flows of this conversation are a great example, right? Where we can elevate up and then we can go back down to a stillness, and being okay with both of those polarity differences and allowing that. See, like for a long time, it was not allowing this different space, right? You're not allowing this space. You're not allowing yourself to go to a more calm, peaceful place, not allowing to just sit in love. There's like a shield up. I just made a song about that. More to life. It's called more to life than hating what's not more. It's all about just, if the shield's up, you're not going to be able to intake the stuff when it comes into your life that you're supposed to, that's supposed to attract and supposed to kind of keep you going. And so the shield can't be up unless it absolutely has to be. There's moments the shield has to be up, but it can't be up all the time, And so,
especially with yourself.
That's it. And,
yeah. And it is so true. It's so much of it is with you. And I think that when you can get to the place of like adopting this idea that your perspective shifts everything, that it's okay to love yourself. It doesn't mean my ideal of self-love isn't, hey, sit in the bathtub with a glass of wine and bubbles and off all day and do nothing.
No.
And again, I think it's different. I know masculine energy and feminine energy need self-love in different ways, but I do think everyone needs to challenge themselves. I think it's a part of the human experience to sit in the moment and look at what you're in front of and go, I'm going to push myself.
Yeah.
And that could be in the gym. It could be in friendships. It could be in relationships. It could be in the business. But it's something about, like, you sit there and you go, okay, I'm going to do something that requires me to raise my standard. I talk to my team about this. It's also the number one thing I talk to with my clients about is this idea about raising your standard. Because if who you are got you to here, then who you're going to have to become has to become a higher level, higher version of you. Your standard must be raised, because if you don't, you're going to end up being the same person. And I went through a bit of a funk 2 years ago. It was on the backside of a breakup and just kind of like shifting gears in business. And I was looking at my life and I kept asking myself, why does this not feel like me? What is the thing missing here? And I realized it wasn't that I had let my standards slip, because this was an aha moment, because it was like I had met, and you talked about this mountain analogy. I'd climbed this new mountain, but now the peak was the new low. And the next mountain was even higher than that one.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand it, because it'd be like, what is missing in my life right now that I feel off? I have a full roster of clients. The podcast is doing great. Relationships come and go. It's just the nature of life, unfortunately. My health was good. Everything was rocking. And I was like, but why do I feel off? And I was like, oh, wait, I have to raise my standard again. And I think much like the healing journey, early on into like therapy, coaching, mentorship, journaling, meditating, working out, those daily practices, early on into that, I realized, oh, this is something that you do. And then a couple of years ago, I realized, well, so is raising your standard. That's something you do about the people that you're with and around, and how you live your life and who you are and how you show up. And sometimes that raising your standard, and this is what was crazy, is like, I'd need to rest. I need to take care of myself. I need to go to therapy. I just got off the plane. I was flying for 9 hours. Maybe I don't have to work all night until I'm exhausted. Right. And it was weird, because I'm in this place now where raising my standard is actually about slowing down to speed up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when you hear this idea about raising your standard, how does that hit you? I'm just really curious if that resonates with you.
Well, I love the concept of that. And I love to perpetually kind of evaluate where you're at, and where, just kind of do a check of where all the categories are, and kind of, is it still resonating? Is this a place that everything is congruent to what I am? Right. And so it could be the people you're hanging out with, or it could be really anything, because it's, time has a strange ability to where you don't realize, because it's just, every day incrementally forward, you don't really realize maybe how far you've progressed at stuff, And so when you take a second and look at it, sometimes, we're making giant leaps a little bit at a time every day. And so we have to adjust our mentality for where we're at now. And it's not, sometimes it's not easy, because we get stuck in frameworks that like, this is like, okay, you got, framework of like, okay, I got 5,000 views. Oh, now I got 1 million views. Okay. Like there's just different, and now maybe the guests are pivoting a different, like there's these pivots that happen where, I think the best thing in the world is climbing one mountain and looking to the next one that's higher and going for that one. And there's twofold to what you said. I think that's fun. I love the idea of always looking for that next thing, right? But one thing you tapped on that I'm really making sure is like the only way to do all of this is through proper rehabilitation of like, sleep and giving yourself that space as well, because burnout's a real thing too, man. And so to me, one of the things I'm really kind of focused on lately is, like taking the time to rest so you can get better and put more into it. And let's just take a simple example of working out. You work out 7 days a week, you're gonna burn. But like if you tone it back into two or three, you might be excited to do it. You can have more energy for it. So like less is way more in that type of situation. It's way more, and you're gonna feel good about it. And same thing with like vocal. You practice your set every day, your voice is gonna get hoarse, and it's not gonna perform well. You got to take the day off. You got to treat it like a muscle. You got to, keep going at it. So that restorative aspect is one that that I know is very important, and creating that balance. So, like we were saying at the beginning, like long game it. It's got to be long game. It's not just bam, 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 and then burn out on it. It's like, no, this is to the end of my life. I'm going to be doing this stuff. So like longevity, is something. How do
people find purpose through the pain? I think that, as I went through your book and as I was, especially the subtitle really hit me. But how do people actually find that purpose? For me, and it was just maybe luck, but it was a lightning bolt moment at 3:00 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh shit, this is the thing I should be doing with my life right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think most people probably, unfortunately, don't get that. Or if they do, they ignore it. How do you find purpose through the pain? And what does that really mean?
So I think it could translate into so many different things. Lightning bolt moments, maybe not everybody is going to have. But I think we can all connect to something that gives us joy and is worth cultivating. So that could be cultivating a lot of things. That could be cultivating, putting energy, like I was saying, into a garden and watching things grow, or getting some houseplants and watching them grow. That's a small one, right? Then you could do things like, well, I've always loved music. Whatever it is, if you're a singer, if you're a drummer, if you play saxophone, I'm going to take this energy I feel right now and I'm going to make music that is a direct reflection of what I'm feeling. And so when you take and you channel what you're feeling into something and that you enjoy doing, you're now funneling this energy and this pain into something good that people can connect to and bind to. And so, so I feel it's a lot of ways. It could be something for outward expression, like creativity. It could be something like, cultivating a group of people even that give you value, that give you a sense of purpose, cultivating, your legacy, working on a book or something that's going to be here, after us. I think purpose is kind of thrown around, a lot. But I also believe that it is that vital of a thing. And there's so many categories that we can put purpose within to. And, just whatever it is, whether it's even like a car ride can be filled with the same general energy if the conversation is, well, like ours here, right? It's like the pain made this conversation, like that made this. Pain made this. That's why we're talking here today. Like this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened, and now we're sitting here talking about this thing. And so that's purpose through it right there. I mean, that's what this is, Yeah,
it's true. It's so true. And as I was, I was looking at the book cover here, and my thought was like the road less traveled, the Robert Frost poem just started to pop in my head, because I'm like, you're here, you are, you're on this road, you're on this path, and it's like, what are you going to do? Not walk it?
Yeah, exactly.
And if you have to, because you have to, I mean, if you're not dead, you kind of have to like walk the path, and you can walk it. You can play victim. You can be, which is fine. And I don't, again, I've said 1,000 times on this show, I don't want to take people's victimhood from them, but is that the best that you got? Like, really, like, is that the best that you got? And I think that's hard. And that's a real awakening moment. That's the mirror moment. That's the teddy bear. That's the sitting in the cell and being like, where am I at? And then choosing something different. So, obviously first, Ben, I applaud you for your journey and for becoming the man that you are. And I think that's capable for everyone. Before I ask you my last question, where can everyone find you? Where can they grab the book? Where can they connect with you, especially and listen to some of your incredible music?
Yeah, thank you. Well, the music's on everywhere under my name, Ben Barbic, Spotify, Apple Music, all services. And my book's available on Amazon in audiobook, Kindle, and hardcover. The audiobook's unique because I'm able to bring some of the music. I've been making music since I was 5 years old, so it tells my story with the music, and I narrated it, here in my home studio. So that was nice to do. And then you can find me on socials, Ben Barbic. So it's all available and out there.
Amazing. And guys, if you go to thinkunbrokenpodcast.com, all of that and more will be in the show notes for you. My last question for you, my friend, What does it mean to you to be unbroken?
Well, to be unbroken to me, man, means to move forward with that energy we have in our inside in our core, to move forward with that which we carry and to lighten the load mentally, but carry it as badges of what helps us become what we're supposed to become. And that journey never stops. And the joy of that journey is thinking unbroken.
Beautifully said, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. Unbroken Nation, my friend. Thank you so much for listening. Guys, if this episode brought any value to your life, if you are finding some inspiration to walk this road less traveled, to rise and climb, and to turn your pain into purpose, someone else in your life may also be in the same place. So share this episode with them, connect with them, maybe listen to it with them on a car ride, because you never know what might come through that. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and until next time, my friends, be unbroken. I'll see ya.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.